good. All right. So here's the deal. I'm from what I'm reading, the big names from the Blue Jays, the White Sox, and the Tigers, the real big star players, especially pitchers, are not going to be available this trade deadline. Are you hearing the same thing?
Yeah, it seems like, Jeff Passan the other day wrote after Randy Arozarena got traded to Seattle that he might be the biggest name to move. I think there's reasons where you look at some of the other big names out there and why they might not. Garrett Crochet put, restrictions on his situation. He said he wouldn't pitch in the playoffs unless he got an extension. He said he wouldn't pitch in relief unless he got an extension. I think that scared some teams off. Skubal in Detroit, that price is going to be so high. A Red Sox person said the other day he thinks it would take two of the big three to get that done. And so even though he's a great fit for the Red Sox, a controllable kind of lefty ace.
Yeah, can I just interrupt real quick just to add to that? I had heard that Baltimore would have to give up Jackson Holliday, which is considered the biggest prospect in baseball, and other pieces. So for Skubal. So and I don't know why the Tigers would trade him anyway. I'm sorry, go ahead.
And then Toronto, they're moving some of their rentals, but they do want to contend next year. And so Guerrero and Bichette seem to be, off the market in that way. So it's the seller's market. The prices are super high. You've seen some of the relievers that have moved, Jason Adams to San Diego, even some lesser guys, Hunter Harvey to Washington. They've gotten pretty good hauls back. So if Arozarena is the biggest name to move, that might, be the case. But we always see kind of surprises late tomorrow and maybe a big name goes here or there. For the Red Sox, though, I think, quite be jumping ahead, but I think this, they've played their way into a place where we don't expect them to be among, the buyers going for the biggest moves. I think, around the margins like we've seen is most likely.
We were talking about this earlier, Chris. The price is just too high for relievers these days. The Red Sox don't have an appetite for that, considering the record, as you mentioned.
And do you think that's wrong? Do you think that they should have a bigger appetite? Because Chris, people are going to bitch. They've extended Cora, which people were bitching about. Do you think, given the prices, that the Red Sox should be active at the trade deadline?
I mean, you can always use more relief help. We've seen that really be the issue over the last 10 days in LA, in Colorado, and then this first series against the Yankees. Not just kind of the bit pieces, but Jansen, struggling a little bit here and there. But Chris Martin and Justin Slayton are going to be back probably around August 10th. Those are two guys that, are super important for the bullpen. I think once you have those two guys, everybody else falls in line. They'll pick their best two lefties out of Bernardino, Boozer, and Horn. Zach Kelly's a guy that, they like. And Cooper Criswell is now in the bullpen. They DFA Chase Anderson, who was their mop-up guy. That kind of made, an upgrade in that regard with Criswell. So, they are getting help from within. I know that's a built-in excuse for them not to do anything, but I think at the end of the day tomorrow, or by the end of the day tomorrow, you'll see a couple of these rental relievers, a 35-year-old guy somewhere with a 3 ERA that is a pending free agent, and the team says, we're out of it. There's literally no point to keeping this guy. Give us a B or C level prospect and get the deal done. So it's not the top of the market. It's more of a depth move. I think that makes a lot of sense. But like I said, some of the moves that have already happened, Estevez going to Philly, Adam going to San Diego, the prices on those guys, super, super expensive for the top high leverage guys. Really, the Red Sox, as bad as it's been the last couple of weeks, there's a case to be made. They don't need that. They have Jansen. They have, Martin, who is really, I know it's been a bad year, but probably, the best setup man in baseball last year. Slayton's the guy who had a pretty good first half. Kelly, like I said, Bernardino, at full strength. It's a pretty good group. That being said, we know that injuries always happen. And once the kind of deck of cards, you remove one, it seems to, screw everything else up. But I would guess that they'd add a reliever or two tomorrow just for a 6th, 7th inning guy, just to strengthen the group a little bit. But, to be thinking that they're going to give up a top prospect for it, doesn't make sense. Somebody like Emmanuel Valdez, a limited player who's on the verge of the majors for, maybe a reliever with a 1.5 year control. They were trying that for Nate Pearson of Toronto, who got moved to the Cubs over the weekend. Something like that makes a lot of sense. But, they have those guys I mentioned and Liam Hendricks, who I didn't mention even, coming back at some point. So the group is not as dire of a situation as it seems or the last week would make it seem.
Yeah, and you just mentioned the prices already on the deals that have been done, which leads me to believe that as high as that price might be for, go back to Skubal for a second, as you wrote, Chris, if they wanted two out of the top three prospects, say they wanted Anthony and Mayer, that might not even get it done. And that's what would worry me. It's like, oh, if you have to convince yourself you want to go that high on a true, on getting an ace in here, not just a 3 ERA reliever. If you wanted to get someone like Skubal, that even that high price may not get it done.
Yeah, and to me, when you look at it, and the Red Sox have not shown a desire to do this over the past 5-6 years, really, but when you have a guy like Corbin Burns who's available on the free agent market, you can get a top of the rotation guy for money. I know it's a ton of it, but that's to me more attractive than trying to get a guy in Skubal who's probably a lesser pitcher. I know younger, I know left-handed, which fits your group a little bit better, but pay 200-something million for Corbin Burns, really just open the wallet. That's something John Henry hasn't done. Or look at somebody else in that realm, this offseason. And to me, they've gotten this far with Anthony, Meyer, Teal. I know they're no sure things. I know we've been hearing these names and now Christian Campbell for years about how this is the core. But if you really look at it, position player wise, they're set at, almost every position if those guys pan out. And it really comes down to what they'll do to really help the pitching staff. And so at this point, it's like, you're so close to the point where all those guys will be part of it. Does a guy like Skubal for two of them make that much sense? I don't think so. I don't think the Red Sox think so either.
Just in a broader sense for this season, Chris, do you really think that all of these guys, there are 4 or 5 of them that are playing so far beyond what we've seen in their careers so far, can they finish this off for the rest of the season and keep this team in contention the rest of the way?
I think on the position player side, and Alex Cora's made this point pretty frequently, the athleticism is something that doesn't slump. So maybe Jarren Duran is not, seeing the ball as well as he was on the West Coast road trip where he's lacing doubles every at bat. But, he hits a bloop single, turns it into a hustle double, steals third, and scores a run, right? He's going to be able to do that. If he gets on base, he's going to be able to wreak havoc. I think the position players, a lot of them, there's going to be ups and downs. 1 week Rafael is going to hit and Abreu's not, and vice versa. The thing that should worry everybody, and it's obvious, is the pitching staff. We've seen these guys really start to hit the wall. Houck has not been as sharp as he was early in the year. It would be almost impossible to be because he was so good, but we've seen this over the last few starts. Bayo's actually pitched better, but an up and down year for him. Pivetta riding the roller coaster as always. And then, Cutter Crawford giving up 7 or 8 homers in his last 2 starts. So, you're looking at guys that are, exceeding their innings totals already. I think for the most part, stepped up for the first 4 months and pitched better than we thought they would, especially Houck and Crawford. But these are guys that are already, in the case of Houck, I think he's already thrown 20 more innings than he ever has in a major league season. And they don't have a choice. They can't, shut him down on September 1st if they're in this thing. And so, they're going to try to find ways to manage that. Right now, it's just kind of like he feels good. They're going to keep, throwing him out there. But his mechanics are out of whack, as he said last night. It seems like there is a fatigue factor, and it's not even August 1st yet. So, it's a delicate kind of house of cards with the pitching staff. The starters have been, really healthy for the course of the last 2 months. Obviously, Giolito and Whitlock out for the year, but, those 4 guys have taken every turn. Paxton helps it a little bit. I just think, you're 1 or 2 rotation injuries away from kind of a lookout below situation, which, it's hard because do they add a starter, another kind of depth piece by tomorrow to kind of protect against that? I don't know, because it's hard to bump any of those guys if they're healthy. You want Pivetta, Bayo, Crawford, and Houck in there and making their starts. So we'll see. I would guess the area of focus again is the bullpen, but if the price is right, it can't hurt to maybe grab somebody else.
All right, Chris Cotillo from MassLive.com, and upcoming the schedule for the Red Sox will have a lot to do with where they are. I mean, they and beyond the obvious, they play their direct wild card opposition coming up in the next few series. So exciting times for Red Sox fans, you should know. And Chris, as you know, people will bitch no matter what. If they make a big move, they'll say they gave up too much. And when they invariably don't make a big move, which they shouldn't, they will bitch that ownership doesn't care, and they might not care, but you can't gauge it by if they don't do something at the deadline. So there you go.
Yeah, the Danny Jansen trade over the weekend was basically like, I can't believe we gave up so much. Who are these guys that we gave up? That was basically the Twitter reaction to it. So we're used to it.
It's just so unique to the Red Sox. It's just this constant complaining for no reason. All right, Chris, thank you.
If you like that clip, check out more videos from Toucher and Hardy here. Point slightly up and to the left. For more Red Sox analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. Point slightly down and to the left. And for all the latest from the Sports Hub, download the app at 985thesportshub.com.